Hawaii Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brackton. Michael Iscaro will join us coming up a little later in the show because, we are here for 2 hours with you guys. So thank you for tuning in on this Aloha Monday and Victory Monday for our University of Hawaii football team. Boy, it feels and recapping a lot of that game that we witnessed on Saturday. Hawaii coming out with their first win of the season, first win over a power conference opponent for head coach Timmy Chang. And also hear from what Coach Timmy had to say in the post game yesterday. Also hear from quarterback Micah Alihado and the other hero of the game in Kansei Matsuzawa. So we will hear all of that the next couple of hours as we get you our thoughts and takeaways, some of the players that stood out to us, aside from the obvious, of course, like the ones that we will hear, and just everything. Maybe do a little Paul's Parlor check-in as well, as now we can start tallying everything. Hope you guys filled out. Did we get any Google Doc?
Yeah, we got a few.
Okay, cool.
We got a few in there.
Some that we can check into Paul's Parlor, because I tell you what, we already started at least getting quite a few things that were on Paul's Parlor list. So it's going to be a fun show to break down with it. So we appreciate you guys for joining us on either you're listening on regular radio or online or watching live on our YouTube channel this and every Monday. So let's go. Let's have a good time. How are we feeling today, Mr. Paul Brecht?
I'm still juiced up. It's funny because I had talked myself up and down with this game so much where it was like, oh, easy win. And then obviously as you actually start to do more and more prep, you become a little bit like, well, this could happen. And then, well, what if this happens? And I started to psych myself out. And then we had the start that we did. And then I was like, oh my God, I led the beautiful people astray. And then everything was okay. And we'll talk about it way, way more. But as the game went on, I think I forgot just how addicting it is to be in the building, to hear the fans roar, to feel the emotion from everybody in attendance, to see the emotion on the sidelines. It was such a fun day. I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to chat about it a ton. I'm excited to see what the beautiful people have to say about it as well, because the vibes have been high since Saturday, and realistically, the vibes have been high all off season. It was just nice to see them actually follow through all the way through the first game.
Yeah, the vibes are going to continue to be high. Shout out to everyone for tuning in. Shout out to my family. They're chiming in on the YouTube chat there from Volcano, Hawaii. I know they had a girls trip there on the Big Island, which, of course, I couldn't be there because we had UH football to cover and recap. Yeah, I watched the replay yesterday, we recorded the game, watched it yesterday, and I was just, the vibes kept on being high. I did wear in case you're wondering, why is she wearing a skull shirt, in case no one has seen this, but it's like the official special teams shirt with the skull, and Coach Chef can be seen wearing it on the sideline as well. Also the Rainbow Authentics hat. I'm pretty much matching the Coach Chef attire with the special team shirt
really
and
are.
The Rainbow Authentic. So I had to do it because special teams, especially, Kansei came up huge in this game, and Hawaii 23-20 over Stanford in that game. Kansei essentially scoring all of the points in the second half, and in addition to that walk-off field goal to clinch the entire game for the Rainbow Warriors. So again, 23-20 with that walk-off field goal with a few seconds left in the game. And taking a look at some of the quick stats, as I hope you guys appreciate the photo there. Shout out to Raiden and our Michael Iscaro for being out there taking some awesome photos on game day. You can check it out at HawaiiSportsRadio.com along with Paul's full recap of the game. But total yards, Hawaii had more total yards. Then Stanford 306 to 286. Also, obviously, passing yards was Hawaii's game. Didn't crack the 100-yard mark for rushing, but it's not something that we're used to. But they did come up very big in significant moments that we'll also get into. The time of possession was probably one of the biggest things that stood out to me, just because it felt like the way that the game was going, Hawaii was only getting like one possession per quarter at that point.
Oh my God.
I was like, wait, is this? I think it was the second quarter when I was like, is this our first possession of the game? Because it felt like the second quarter was already over. And sure enough, it was. So no surprise there, though. Our friend Matt Humans in the VSiN primetime show that we had on Friday at the Clarence T. Ching Athletics Complex, he was very confident in the under. He's like, Stanford, and he's so casual about it. He's like, Stanford's, they're going to run the ball.
Really said it matter of factly,
yeah, he's like, Stanford's going to run the ball. They're going to slow it down. They're going to muck it up. And this game is going to go way under, as it did. And the line total had already dropped significantly by like 5.5 points. I think it opened up at like 55.5, somewhere around there. Was all the way down to like 50.5, and still went way under. So Matt Humans, he was chill about it. He's like, yeah, they're going to muck it up. And that's what they did. They didn't give Hawaii a lot of time to have the ball in their hands, to give Micah Alihado a lot of chance to run this offense like we saw fit. But you know what? Kind of what we were talking about and what we had high hopes about, Paul, is that they didn't really need that much time, because Micah's ability to just see the field, get the ball quickly into his receiver's hands, show off his legs that apparently he had, even though it made me so nervous pre-injury. And then when he got injured,
post-injury is what scared me.
But that one long run he had, that first one that got us that much, like, into the red zone, you're like, but go down. What are you doing, Micah? But it was just phenomenal. Like you said, to start off the way that they did, that snafu of reception by Brandon White to call the fair catch when the ball had hit the ground, not knowing the rules in that moment, Micah taking that sack fumble for a touchdown to Stanford, for Stanford to go up 10-zip just like that. It was like, oh no, did we hype ourselves up? And this is how this game is going to go. Fortunately, that was just a little bit of the nerves. They settled down. Micah was, in true Micah fashion, the competitor that he is. I'm sure he genuinely felt horrible about that happening. And he was just, I mean, we saw it after the injury. We don't know what the official word is yet, but that kid, he was just so exciting to watch, on top of the nervousness to watch him. But every high praise we had leading up to this game, he just was proving that he is this quarterback to lead this team. Fingers crossed. He says he is going to be good to go for Arizona, but that was with the adrenaline still going. So we are keeping our hopes up that he is.
We'll see on that one.
But man, again, just to start off with the way Hawaii did, talk about emotional roller coaster, hyping ourselves up for the game. Look at this crowd. It's awesome. Yeah, let's go. We held Stanford to just that field goal. Woohoo! Let's go defense. Let's go offense now. Micah Alihado, here it is.
And just all of the air out of the building just like that. It really was one of those like gut punch starts. And Timmy talked about this. I can't remember if it was an on-field interview or with us in the post game, but he talked about, he's like, the beginning was the old us. And I thought that was like an interesting way to talk about it, right? Where it's the old us as in previous seasons where, all right, well, the defense did a nice job bending, not breaking on the first possession of the game. And then you compound an error where you're starting a backup guard. The backup guard gets beat. Micah holds onto the ball too long and takes a sack, and then fumbles in the end zone. Like it's a disaster. And previous years' teams just implode after that. I mean, how many times have we seen it where they never truly recover? Even in games where they get back in it, they can't make that one last play. They can't get over the hump. And yeah, Micah deserves a ton of credit, but there are so many plays, and we'll talk about them throughout the show. There are so many plays throughout this game that just little moments that completely flipped everything, that were so big both in the moment and looking back. And I mean, the defense really does deserve so much credit for this one. They allow 13 total points, and realistically speaking, I thought they were done after the 20-play drive, 85 yards, touchdown, 15 of those plays are run plays. It's basically they rush it down your throat. I was like, oh, man, like this is where the P4 talent pushes through. This is like good. It was good, but with Micah hurt, I don't know. Like I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. And silly me, because, and this is where we can talk about what it means a little bit more for the program. Like this was a big step. This was a big step for the coaching staff. This was a big step for the players. This was a big step for the fans as well, where, I mean, how many fans now, they watch that game and they're like, oh, we got a guy. You know, Micah's going to do what needs to be done late in a half, because not only did he help them get down the field on one leg in that second half for both the game tying and the game winning drive, I want us to think back at the end of the first half as well, where he capitalized on a couple of opportunities, right? Gets blown up in the backfield on this trick play, and then a stupid penalty from a seventh-year guy from Stanford. How many times have we seen Hawaii teams in the past not capitalize on an opportunity like that with a kill shot? Hell, they'll kick a field goal, or maybe the field goal will get missed, or it'll still be a turnover.
Or we'll turn it over again,
or whatever it'll be, right? Nope. This one, touchdown, go ahead touchdown, go into the half with a lead. Like, it just felt different. And this team, and we're going to talk about it all throughout the year, can they learn how to win in big games consistently? They finally did it on national television against a P4 opponent, against an ACC school, finally beat Stanford. And I know the counterpoint is going to be, oh, Stanford sucks. Oh, they're going to be the worst team in the ACC, blah, 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 blah. One, I don't know if that's going to necessarily be true. I think Stanford might be a little bit better than people realize. Gulbranson, I don't know if he's going to be the full season starter. But overall, I think there is something to build on there. This was the first ever win over Stanford for Hawaii. I don't care how bad you think that Stanford is, was, are, whatever. Hawaii still had to come out and win the game, and they almost didn't. And they buckled down when things got tough, and they won this football game as a group. It was a full team win, and it's something that fans can look at and kind of start to gravitate towards. Like, oh, okay, this team doesn't have a loser mentality. This team, they finally started to learn, like, what the big things are. Because even they had some frustrating penalties in this one, Koo. But at the end, you know what they did? They cleaned it up. And that wasn't something that's happened in previous years. So a lot of praise is deserved for this performance, because it's not one that we would have gotten in previous seasons.
Yeah, by the way, shout out to all of you fans that showed up, though. Sold out crowd. There was a bunch of you guys in there. Everyone obviously wanted to stay the whole time. The student section was showing up and showing out, wearing your white. It was awesome to see all of you in attendance, being loud. I know some of you are still holding to the coup chant that they don't do anymore, but shout out to you guys. I wanted to get loud. We need something on the third down. It's definitely a different experience when I went to that USC LSU game, and people would actually get loud on third down for the home team. So we got to think of something. I know they had to end it for their reasons, but shout out to everybody that was in attendance for that awesome game. Again, 23-20 walk-off win for the University of Hawaii to get the first Power Conference win over an opponent under head coach Timmy Chang, the first ever against an ACC opponent, which seems weird to say, but that's just the way that it's worded in the game notes. But its first win over a power conference, and it's been since 2019. So it's been a long time coming, and boy, oh boy, did it feel great. Again, I believe I agree with you, Paul, in that I don't think Stanford is going to be as bad as they are, but this was a very sometimes messy game, but a good way to start, considering that neither team really knew anything about each other, and that's what the problem is with week 0. That's going to be a case where Hawaii's trying to prep for Arizona now coming up this week. But it was a win is a win. A win is a win, and we will take it. But right now, we got to take a break. So when we come back, we will let you guys hear from what head coach Timmy Chang had to say following that huge win on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
This is my time, ready to shine, brighter than all of the lights, 'cause when it's game time, seconds away and the game's on the
Good song there, Paul.
Thank you. I was proud of that one.
Giving me very Coach Chef special teams vibes. Again, I'm like representing the special teams with the attire. I am trying to do my best Coach Chef impression because the special teams, among a lot of other people that will definitely get into and give our shout outs to so many people that had a hand in this win. Again, 23-20 in Hawaii's favor. Before we hear from head coach Timmy Chang and what he had to say post-game, I want to make sure we do give some quick shout-outs right now because the Mountain West Awards came out this morning. So Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Week, no surprise here, Kansei Matsuzawa. Defensive Player of the Week, Kilinahe Mendiola Jensen. Offensive Player of the Week and Freshman of the Week. Again, none of these can be a surprise. Micah Alihado. And reminder, I know this is week 0, not all the teams were in action, but there were still 2 other Mountain West teams in Fresno State and UNLV that were in action. So it says a lot that Hawaii was able to get a lot of these awards for week 0 in the Mountain West, but we'll talk about some of those individual players coming up throughout the show and then also get you those scores and talk about briefly about the other Mountain West games. But first, I want to let you guys hear from what our head man in charge, Timmy Chang, had to say following that game. And at first, just talks about what it means to get his first win over a power conference opponent and against an opponent like Stanford.
Coach Frank, we had a long conversation, and that's a really good long-time coach that's been in a lot of different places, and I look forward to talking to Andrew Luck in the off season because we're very similar in how we are built, and he's going to build that program to where he knows and saw it, and I admire that, and I think we have that mutual respect about each other, and so that's a great team, and they're going to win a bunch of ball games in the future, and so for us, we got goals and we want to reach them, and so that's for us. It's one down, and we got to get ready for the next Power 4 team on the road.
One more quick one, Coach. What can you say about Kansei today, and especially that final effort there?
Unbelievable. The guys up front gave them time. Snapper, Holder, and we've been working with Snapper and Holder. This whole camp on making sure the ball was down right for him, and if we could put it down right for him and give him a chance, he's going to do it. And so, the kid is unbelievable. Taught himself English. Went to a JUCO. First national-born Japanese player to score points in an NCAA game, and we're lucky to have him.
Coach, what did you notice about Micah's demeanor when he went down, and what was that conversation like of him probably not wanting to come out of the game, right?
Yeah, not much words to be said. It's like, you're okay, I'm good. And that's kind of the extent of it. You like these plays, we like this, we can do this. What are you thinking? How you feeling? And the kid's mindset is tough, and so we got a good one. Micah is one of the most ultimate competitors, and his competitive nature was not to let his teammates down. And so he wanted to play. We wanted him to play. His teammates had his back. And he went down and wanted for us. And that's what you want in a quarterback.
Hey, Coach, congrats on this win. A lot of storyline, maybe Micah playing hurt and giving us all, but I felt like that warrior mentality was felt from this whole team, right? I mean, Jamar Sakona comes back last year from an injury, and you got Tariq Jones, getting hurt. So just kind of elaborate more about the warrior mentality and these players leaving it all on the line. Yeah, and listen, they put in a lot of work this offseason, okay, to these close games, and we talk about these close games and being on the other side of them and how we're going to get on the other side of them, and really early on, man, you saw a team last year that was showing up in the first quarter, with an unforced error on a fair catch, caught in the 1 yard. Next play, we're sacked, fumble, touchdown. It's 10-0.
And to sit here and say that we came back in and we won a close 3-point game, a kickoff to walk it off, a field goal to walk it off. I mean, that's just resilience. These guys are going to learn. And sometimes, just like any kid, sometimes it takes longer than others. Okay, and would I want it faster? Yeah, but it is what it is, and that's why I thank the Lord upstairs because, to me, he's the reason, right? He's the reason why these guys can go up there and do what they do.
Congratulations on the win, Coach. Could you just talk a little bit about your reaction to Kilanahe Mendiola Jensen's interception there, just what you remember from that moment and how big that was?
Wow, what a great play. Those interceptions are probably the hardest, in my opinion, just because of how short the distance the ball travels and how fast of a reaction you have to have. And for him to just come down with it, unbelievable. Game ball deserved for him that we gave away, and another game ball to Jackson Harris for playing such a complete game and for us.
Read my mind there real quick with Jackson Harris. His first official catch is a touchdown against his old team. Could you just talk about his performance today where sometimes distractions from the outside can kind of come in?
Yeah, he came over here just with the mindset to just work. I really appreciated his every day in and day out attention to detail and his process and just really kind of being accepted and loving up on the guys and them loving him back. And so what you guys see on the field is just him being able to go to work. And so he's a good receiver. He's a really good receiver, and we look forward to just throwing him the ball more.
Coach, congratulations on the win. Earlier you talked about the growth of your team having to be now on the other side of those close wins. How about for yourself and your staff, to get this one now under your belt, finally, as you said, on the other side of the win? How big of growth is that for you and your staff moving forward?
Yeah, it's huge, and man, I mean, I told my staff in our pre-staff meeting at the hotel before we started to go through our process of special teams walkthrough and all those things. I told them that that's the best January to this point I've ever been a part of, and I've been with some really good coaches. And so from that standpoint, just them preparing and just being aligned with the vision that I have, I just thank them. And so they did a great job.
Yeah, it seems one of the challenges of you is having practice, but not having a grass practice field. But it seems also that helped you today that you were always practicing on this field, especially with the winds and everything. How much did it factor in helping Kansai learn how to gauge that final two kicks? Sure.
Yeah. When you play, a couple thousand miles away from everybody else, and you have the comfort of weather and understanding the wind and understanding the field, and even just the backdrop, all those things help. They really do. And so Kansai felt comfortable. 2 long kicks into the wind. He has a distance in our head that we have to hit and a mark that we have to hit, and so we did that for him, and so he was able to do his job. But it was a total team effort with those guys and on that field goal unit, protecting for him and getting the snap down and him just putting it through.
And then that was UH football head coach Timmy Chang following that 23-20 walk-off win versus Stanford. And I did stand up a little bit so you guys can see the shirt of the special teams as you kind of end that talking about the special teams unit and, of course, Kansai. So now you can see the bottom that says Hawaii Special Teams, Ride or Die. That's kind of what Coach Chef always posts on his social media and kind of what they go by. He legitimately, if you guys didn't know or haven't seen the video from when they first started coaching here, Coach Chef has pretty much this tattoo quite literally on his chest. And he went viral at Nevada when he just got the tattoo and went, "Ride or die!" and ripped open his shirt. So that's kind of the backstory behind all of this. So in case anyone's wondering, I was sitting down earlier, and I know, especially because my family's watching, and they'd be like, "Why is she wearing a skull shirt?"
What do you mean? That's totally your personality.
It's totally my style. Yeah, I know. So that's why it's going with that. No, but again, huge shout out to head coach Timmy Chang, and because just little things, right? And like we keep saying, we're gonna start going through the details. We're gonna take a break pretty soon, and when we come back, we'll start going through a lot of the details of the actual game itself. But you can tell not only this team But just with Timmy being now in this fourth year, doing things that is it fair to say close to a veteran head coach now in the program is able to,
comparatively to the
rest of the conference. But you know what I mean? Like calling that timeout for when Luke went in, calling the timeout so that Micah could go back in. It's little things that I'm not saying he maybe wouldn't have done that in his first year, but you could tell that he has significantly improved throughout this tenure. And we've talked about it before in the media availabilities that we had in fall camp. Like, you could tell that Timmy himself is more confident going into year 4. And that's why, on top of the talent that we know that we had on this team, just knowing that our head coach, and of course, all the support that he gets from his assistant coaches that he also mentioned in there as well, that just having that phenomenal time from January to August, that putting all of this stuff together, you can see it, but it bodes very well that, like in Mountain West play, he's definitely one of the more veteran head coaches that are in the conference.
What a hilarious thing to think though. Our little baby, Tim Chang.
Yeah. He's growing up so fast.
Oh, gosh. But no, you're spot on, I think, where this is we talk about a more mature team, right? And it starts at the very top. It starts with the head man because he is more confident. He is more decisive. He is more in control, and part of that comes from confidence in the overall unit. He knows the team is prepared each week. He knows he's got a guy at quarterback who is basically I almost said re-personification of himself, but it may as well be the same thing. But you know what I'm saying. He's a reincarnation, except left-handed, essentially, and he takes care of the ball way better.
Season's still early.
Yeah, you're right. Very early on. But no, I think you see and hear, and it feels different with Timmy Chang in year 4. And I mean, to be fair, good. Like that, it's what is supposed to happen. We talk so much about development for players year over year. You want coaches to do the same exact thing. You want coaches to learn, to grow, whatever it may be. And outside of a few silly mistakes here and there that I don't necessarily know if that's fair to blame on Timmy. Like, I thought they were very well, top to bottom, very well coached yesterday. I mean, I think the biggest coaching errors end up being the fair catch, I guess, quote unquote. And I don't even know if that's really a coaching error.
I think it's just a lapse in judgment,
right?
The nerves.
And then I think when, who went down? Was it Dean Brisky went down with a cramp? Somebody went down on the field with a cramp after the ball had already been spotted in the second half, and Hawaii got charged a timeout, and I think a coach told him to go down. I don't know if it was like a coach or like a GA or like a student assistant or whatever it may be. Somebody told him to go down. So that was
But I think that was because he was legitimately hurt.
Oh, he absolutely was. It was more so just understanding he was that close to the sideline and to understand the rule where it's like if you're that close, you're going to be burned a timeout if you go down at that point because the ball had already been spotted. And he was, and to his credit, he was really working his tail off to try and get off the field. So that's why. But overall, the point stands.
Speaking of timeouts, though, and we'll go to break in just a second because I wanted to mention it before I forget this thought, and we'll talk about it some more. And I know Michael's going to pop in here. Was it just me, or I was trying to, even after watching the taped broadcast yesterday and hearing the announcer say it as well, but when it was happening in real time, I was wondering why Frank Reich wasn't calling a timeout with 20 seconds left when Hawaii had the ball. They had 3 timeouts, so you want at least one to ice, and you want one to maybe use if you get the ball back. But they had 3, and I'm like, why aren't you stopping the clock? I mean, hey, thank you very much. But the fact that he let the clock run down, I was like, this is very interesting that you're letting it run down. It went all the way down to and I'm like, all right, well. And then they used the timeout to ice Conce, which thankfully didn't work. But I just thought that was an interesting lack thereof calling a timeout when you had 3 left in Stanford, unless he was completely assuming they were going to get the ball back and he wanted to save the 2. But I just thought that was interesting for you to not stop the clock, to give your team more time if you were to get the ball back at that time. So it was interesting, but I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it was an interesting moment. At the end of the day, I don't think it really would have changed that much. I understand why people are you should call those timeouts. But also, the issue I had if I was a Stanford fan was they did a horrible job of icing. I mean, he called the timeout before Kansai even thought about going through with the kick. They snapped it for fun, and Kansai didn't even waste like a follow through on a kick. I went back and I watched the video because I have both, and it was just like, that feels not all that effective.
Again, hey, we'll take it.
Right. I thought he was going to try and ice them all 3 times. I thought he was going to go timeout, timeout, timeout. Well, if it may as well, if you're going to keep all the timeouts, right?
Something.
You can't take them home with you. At least, I guess he did anyway.
Yeah, he did. Also, shout out Caleb Freeman, listed as a quarterback, but was the holder and
my king.
Did everything perfectly.
My D3
set
king.
Kansai up. We don't want to forget about all the other people that matter, of course. All right, but we got to take a break. When we come back, we will kind of get to more of the detailed takeaways and specific thoughts about all of the different units in the offense, special teams, and defense. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht, and Michael Liscaro has made it into the studio, even though he seems to be breaking stuff, and I don't know what's going on over here with Michael. But anyways.
He's just still juiced up from the win this past weekend.
We're all juiced up again. 23-20 walk-off win for the University of Hawaii football team, getting the first Power Conference win under head coach Timmy Chang, and the first Power Conference win since 2019. First win ever against an ACC opponent, with the little asterisk because we know all the conference realignment. But nonetheless, a win is a win. Michael, now that you came in here and Paul got to share our initial thoughts, before we get into kind of the specific takeaways from the offense, special teams, and defense, what is your overall thoughts and assessments, or just the vibes and the vibes being high of following this huge win by the University of Hawaii on Saturday?
Where is the camera I'm supposed to look at? That one?
That one for now.
Can it see me? Can it see me?
Well, you can stand up to make things easier.
Hi, beautiful people. I might not actually answer this question because I'm gonna offer a little tease because I was gonna try and surprise Ku where she wakes up and see a video on YouTube uploaded, but I actually came into the studio Saturday night here almost till like 11, and I recorded myself talking and reacting to the win. So that's a little tease for the YouTube audience because, I mean, right now I do not look myself. I mean, my headset broke. My glasses has tape on it. You know, we're kind of hashed, but I will.
Where? Speak for yourself.
I was gonna say who's we.
But it was a busy weekend. I will say, I think there was you guys were last talking about the timeouts where Frank Reich took it. He didn't call it. Well, for one, it was third down. So I don't know if he expected us to run under play to get to fourth down because you have that opportunity. But I also remember in the Super Bowl way back when, the Patriots versus the Seahawks, where the Seahawks was on the goal line and Bill Belichick had 2 timeouts and he didn't call it. And what do you know? The Seahawks make a blunder and blow it, and Belichick looks like a genius. Now I bring up the Patriots because Micah Alejandro had shades of Tom Brady in that game-winning drive. Now I know that hurts Paul to say, but
How dare you?
But
he has shades of Mark Sanchez.
No. What? Micah Alejandro?
Mark Sanchez.
No, what?
Respect my king.
No.
Respect my king.
Maybe Mark Sanchez in the broadcast booth, but we want Mike on the field as long as we can, Paul.
Mark Sanchez, respect him. 2-time AFC championship guy. As a rookie, too, by the way. He's one of like 2 guys to do that ever. You can respect Mark Sanchez. Anyway, continue.
I mean, but Micah didn't. I mean, he did give up that strip fumble in the end zone, but after that, he was
Mark
good.
Sanchez. No, kidding. Anyway,
Mark Sanchez. But yeah, Paul kind of threw me off there. But yeah, it was a good win.
Well, payback.
But yeah, this year's team is different. That is pretty much what I lead in the YouTube video that will somehow be posted later today. I was supposed to post it yesterday, but your boy wanted to go to soccer yesterday, so I'm everywhere.
Sad soccer.
Sad soccer. All right. Getting back on track to letting you guys go all over the place there 1 second. Going back again, looking at some of the team statistics in total yards. Hawaii accumulating more than Stanford, 306 to 286 pass yards. No surprise there. Hawaii 210 to Stanford's 109 in passing yardage. Rushing yards, I mentioned this earlier. Hawaii not able to crack the 100-yard rushing yard mark with 96 total rushing yards to Stanford's 177. We started feeling that pain 100%. They were just running it down, mucking it up, and there you go. But penalty yards relatively even. Stanford 7 penalties for 70 yards and Hawaii 8 penalties for 70 yards. Obviously, there were a couple of significant penalties that Hawaii could take advantage of, and as
I just want to push back on Ku saying we did not crack the 100 mark, and Paul can back me up on this.
I was gonna go
It's because in the NFL you don't count sack yardage to the rushing numbers. That doesn't make any sense. So
I think I yelled at this
we
the other
gained
day.
119 yards, Ku. So in my book, we cracked the 100-yard mark. The Stanford players that are doing TikTok dances and getting sacks, we had a good day on the ground. I know somebody in the post game wanted to say Micah didn't have a lot of rushing yards, but that's factoring in the sack yardage. But we had a very explosive game on the ground, and our running backs may have not rushed for a lot, but if you combine their all-purpose yards from scrimmage, I think between Cam Barford and Landon Sims, that's at least 100 yards, if not more. So our backs did a really good job in checkdowns, and that was kind of why I was kind of saying where Michael Alejandro was having shades of Tom Brady, because he wasn't trying to force it down the field. If the check down was there, he took the check down. And Landon Sims with a very huge play in that final drive where he caught the ball and ran for about 20 yards or so. That took us into field goal position in the red zone. I remember, if you watch the replay, there's this little red line where it says target field goal range, and Landon Sims runs past it 10 more yards. And once we had that play, we were in business. So that's one player I think we need to be singing more, Landon Sims. He had a great job receiving the football in this past game.
Yeah, and looking at if the total stats, as the guys were saying there, 119 yards gained on the ground. Micah Alejandro, 57 of those yards to his credit. Also, Micah, 27 for 39 for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns. Took, as we know, 4 sacks, but he was rocking and rolling all over the place. A little bit of a scary moment, multiple scary moments. Not only that that hip tackle that is somehow illegal in the NFL, but not in college football yet. And apparently, if you just tap the quarterback also, I know Timmy had said, in the media avail last week that they were going to crack down. Well, this was more the Mountain West ref, that they were going to crack down on roughing the passer, but not to the extent of like, all right, Micah's going down and you could have called like the targeting or roughing like at that point, but then you're going to call roughing because you somehow accidentally hit the helmet, not the face mask, but the helmet of the quarterback while he's passing the ball. And before that, there was a holding on the offensive lineman before the hand hit the helmet. So I'm like, all right, so we're not going to call the holding, but we're going to call roughing on just a helmet tap, and then not call like the hip drop tackle. Well, I know you can't, but still, nonetheless, it was just kind of wonky, the calls that were all over the place. But yeah, that was kind of interesting when I saw, when I watched it back. I'm like, looks like there was a holding right there before they called roughing the passer. Obviously, they're going to look more at the quarterback, protecting the quarterback, before they look at any of the holding around the QB. But I just had to point that out in case nobody noticed, because I was yelling at the replay screen when I saw that happen. I was like, there was holding before the roughing. Can we just call that, please?
Yeah. Well, thankfully, those were ACC officials, at least what the broadcast said, and they're coming from the East Coast. You know, they probably even hate that Stanford is in the ACC because that's a West Coast team coming into their conference. But Paul knows, as someone from the East Coast, that sometimes they get a little wonky, and they you know, just Paul, can you back me up here about your East Coast brethren?
I don't want to talk about officials because I get irrationally upset about officials. Just this is a bigger, what you just said, Koo, is a bigger issue that I have overall, where I understand trying to protect the quarterback, but also there are some times where it is so unbelievably ridiculous what we are doing, because there are times yesterday where I'm watching Micah get hit, two-hand shoved, smacked down after he's thrown the ball away to no flag.
Yes.
Like, if you go back and you watch the television copy or on the replay, or you watch it if you have, you know, privy to all 22, then you'll get an opportunity to see, like, Micah gets hit again and again and again and again. And if we're really talking about roughing the passer, right?
Yes.
Unnecessary roughness. Those are the penalty, or those are the plays where I'm like, what are we doing, right? Oh, we get an open hand, hits the side of a helmet and goes down while he's working through what, like you mentioned, a hold. No call there. I understand you don't want the hands to the face. I understand you don't want hands up towards the helmet.
Yes.
But oh my goodness gracious, this is football. And for it to happen on a sack as well was just unbelievably frustrating. Like, it's one of those things that it's like, you can't do anything right as a defender. It's such a ridiculous thing to me, and it's not the officials' fault. Like, they are calling it by the rule book for the most part, it seems like. It's such a stupid thing to me. You hit a little microaggression of mine.
All right, we're going to let Paul cool off a little bit, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what players impressed and maybe surprised us in this game. Again, big game at Hawaii, 23-20, walk-off win over Stanford to start off the season 1-0. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Iscaro here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. So be sure you guys can comment in the YouTube chat. You can text us at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481 if you want to get in on the conversation. Want to give a happy belated birthday shout out on these airwaves to one of our dedicated viewers, and Felipe Hernandez, who we see chiming in there on the live chat on YouTube, as he always does. But I know he celebrated his birthday on Saturday, and congratulations, Felipe. They got that win for you that we have been talking about. So, and then Caesar also commenting on here, just to back up my guy Paul here. Paul was not 100% serious about Mark Sanchez.
Full tongue in cheek.
You guys just know Paul is a Jets fan, and Tom Brady played for the Patriots for a very long time, and the Patriots are in the same division. Ruin everything.
First thing Michael says is like, hey, Paul, you know that game you really enjoyed Saturday? What if I compared the guy you enjoyed watching to the guy who made your childhood just awful watching football? So I had to defend myself, guys, okay?
Yeah, but now he's playing for your team, Paul.
This is true. Now I have my own. I have my Filipino Tom Brady.
By the way, yes, Felipe, all three of us, of course, were at the football game. We are always going to be, unless there is some crazy circumstance, the three of us will always be at all three games. Part of the reason why we don't necessarily schedule our any local broadcasts whenever Hawaii is here at home, or even if they're away, and depending on the time, as Hawaii does get prepared to go to Arizona. Let's see. Someone texted in, I believe, what if we know, I don't know, any idea of which officiating crew will be doing the Arizona game? I don't know if we know that yet.
It don't matter.
But
let's move on.
It won't matter.
We will see. Don't get Paul worked up again. Yeah. But if somehow we find out, we will let you guys know some of the other things. Let's see. Alejandro should slide more if he knows how.
We got to teach him how to slide.
I think he does. But remember when he talked about in one of the media availabilities, I think it was last week in the game week one, he's like, oh, I enjoy being hit. And at first, I didn't really think that kid enjoyed being hit. You could see that in that. No, I agree with you. Stop it.
No, I'm not saying to you. I'm saying to him. Stop it.
In that game, I was like, he was not joking when that first long run he had, and he kind of did went down.
Right, he dove forward.
But got hit by 1, 2, 3 Stanford guys. He got up, and the close-up when I was watching the TV broadcast, he's like, I'm like, oh, well, my gosh.
I mean, after he went down, the time he did actually slide and he got his helmet popped off, I think it was that play anyway. I went back and I watched the TV copy. He's chirping to the defender.
That's what I mean. That kid.
He kills me, man. You'd never believe that he is the size that he is. He's the personification of the old adage. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog type of thing. That dude, he really is a dog with a lot of bite to it.
All right. Speaking of Micah, I wanted to, and we'll probably have to continue this in hour number 2 because we're up against the clock, but wanted to kind of talk about maybe some players that impressed or maybe surprised us during this game. Obviously, Micah, we can sing his praises all day, but he wasn't necessarily a surprise to me because we were singing his praises leading up to the game. His performance, if anything, the sack fumble that he had in that first snap was the surprise. But for the most part, his performance, his grit, having that dog in him to keep going when he was injured, all of that stuff wasn't necessarily a surprise to me because that's almost the expectation. Same with Kansei. I mean, he is now his second year, and he nailed all of those field goals for Hawaii to lift them for the win, including that walk-off. So not necessarily a surprise by the true definition. I would say the one player that I can think of right away that I thought of that maybe surprised and impressed me, and we mentioned him earlier, Kilinahe Mendiola Jensen. I mean, coming up huge with that interception.
Talk about a guy.
And the way that interception happened, right? Dr. Ben was trying to pass over his head. That play was incredibly athletic. He jumped up, didn't necessarily bat the ball down, kind of like it went through his hands and then it just fell into his chest and he was able to secure it for that huge interception. And just overall, like, he was definitely someone who has come a long way. He's worked his way into the rotation, worked his way to a starter this year. And his performance in that game was definitely, if I had to pick a player, he was one that definitely surprised and impressed me. Because, again, we can say these other players, Jackson Harris, offensively, I guess a surprise in the means that I didn't know what to expect. But same thing, we had high expectations for him coming over from Stanford. But if I had to pick, it would be Nahe that just, to me, when I'm watching that game, and even when I watch the broadcast on CBS, I'm like, okay, kid, you have arrived, and this is it. How about for you guys? Is there a player that, when you think about it, like, they really, like, surprised and impressed you that you weren't expecting?
I mean, I'd have to agree with you in terms of Nahe, and I think that's something a lot of people are going to say. I thought he was overall probably the best defensive player on the field for Hawaii, and if that's going to be the case where he takes that next step next to Peter Manuma, I didn't think Peter had all that great of a game, to be honest with you, despite a productive game. If we get the Peter that we know we can normally get with that Nahe, all of a sudden this safety tandem that Hawaii has gets very interesting. So I would have to agree with you.
Yeah, staying in the defensive side, you got to give a shout out to Jaheim Wilson-Jones, because he was a player last year where he was in a lot of bad positions and was on the bad end of some of these plays. You know, I remember the Boise State game where Boise's last touchdown, when they're trying to run out the clock, he pretty much gave the Boise State tight end a police escort for the remaining 50 yards. But, you know, Stanford, they tried him on their last two plays on offense, and one was an overthrow, but he was still in coverage, and the other was a great read. You know, he saw the concept. You know, he didn't get fooled by it, and he's able to come up and make a big pass deflection. So he's one. I do want to give also another shout out to Luther McCoy, the grad transfer coming in.
My king.
Well, he had that blocked field goal in the second quarter to take away points, but I like that play because about 4 or 5 yards, 5 plays earlier, he got called for, I believe, some kind of penalty. I think it was a face mask. And he comes out and kind of...
He makes up for it.
He makes up for it, right? And that was kind of, to me, that's kind of a key play that goes under notice because, like Timmy Chang was saying in the post game, sometimes there
I got to stop you right now, Michael, because we got to go to break. But we're kind of going on to where we were going to get in to start off hour number 2 in the actual top plays and defining moments of the game. Wanted to give our love to some of the surprise players. Now we're going to get into the details of the top plays and defining moments, and also let you guys hear from the winner of the second half entirely, Kansei Matsuzawa. We'll also hear from Micah Alejado and what they had to say in the postgame when we come back for hour number 2 on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht and Michael Iscaro on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, HawaiiSportsRadio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel as we do this and every single Monday. So mahalo to all of you guys that are tuning in live right now, or if you are going to watch or watching on demand. We appreciate all of you chiming on the live chat. Text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481 as we are spending pretty much the entire 2 hours debriefing and dissecting that University of Hawaii football win on Saturday, 23-20 over Stanford. Walk-off win. First Power Conference win under head coach Timmy Chang. And I tell you what, the vibes were high. I mean, even Coach CB, the muscle guy, he was, I don't know if he minds me sharing this, but when I saw him after the game, I mean, he had, but you know what? Real men get emotional. So I will say it. Coach CB, the emotions were there. He had multiple tears in his eyes following that win. I mean, the honorary captain, Tumu Tuine, was stoked after the game. The vibes were just so high post-game on the field. Sherry Chang, I mean, like, we were giving each other the biggest hugs. I don't know. I think she lost track of all her kids at that point. She was just so excited.
That feels like probably a regular occurrence for them, to be fair. There are so many in the Chang gang running around.
Usually she has them next to her, and I'm just like, it's just Sherry here. And we're, like, giving each other hugs. The VEASAN guys were, like, high-fiving and everything.
I think it's Tim Murray had the video with Coach Timmy Chang afterward.
VEASAN.
Dude, that was the funniest video ever, and it was pure vibes, like pure electricity. So that was, if you haven't seen that, go on Twitter.
Everything on social media.
It was awesome.
On top of all of the other, again, the walk-off stuff and all parts in between. We're going to get into our top plays, defining moments breakdown from the game to start off this hour. But first, we want to let you hear about the play that is probably the most memorable for a lot of fans and the one that really went viral everywhere. And now everybody knows, we already knew here, but now everybody knows that Kansei Matsuzawa learned how to kick via YouTube. That's been going viral. I think I saw a funny meme that said, like, Stanford just lost to a kicker that learned how to kick on YouTube and a quarterback that was, like, hobbling the entire time. So
one-footed quarterback and a YouTube
That's
kicker.
what it was. But that's Hawaii, and the vibes were high. But here is what that game-winning kicker, Kansei Matsuzawa, had to say after that win.
We always talk about the win is our advantages, and you guys see that, like, Stanford players kind of struggle to win, and it was like block the field goal, but, like, obviously, like, they're trying to always think about win, but, like, we're just, like, focus on ourselves, and nothing bigger than, like, special teams unit, me, Caleb, Jack, and as always starts from us. So I try and execute and focus on myself, and that leads to good results, I think.
You've been in this position before to make the kicks. Tell us what the mindset was, and just kind of talk about your journey of getting to the place that you're at right now, because you've overcome a lot and learned the English and becoming very successful. So talk about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous right now, more than, like, when I kicked game-winning field goal. Like, speaking English is tough. But, yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the moment. And when we gave up the second touchdown to the Stanford, and I was like, oh, this is going to be my game. And I just prepared game-tying field goal and also game-winning field goal. I knew that was going to happen. So, like, just focus on myself, that, like I said, and that's the thing only I can do. So control what I can control. That's everything I do on the field. Yeah.
Conte, after you kicked that game-winning field goal, what kind of thoughts were going through your mind? And I know you said you're nervous because you speak English, so if your native tongue comes out, I know we do have some fans in Japan, so what were your thoughts in your mind?
It was really happy. It was a great moment in my life, but I know it's one of many. So we definitely needed the win of this game, and I'm so happy to help the team win. And also, I'm really happy to represent the state of Hawaii. And yeah, thank you.
When you're out there lining up for a big kick, are your teammates talking to you? They saying anything, or is there this zone of silence around you? Nobody say anything. Do not.
I think some of them talk to me, and they say I believe in you and something like that, and you're gonna be the hero. And I was like, heck yeah, and hey. But I was locked in myself, and then I wasn't everywhere. I mentally, physically straight, and yeah, I just focus on myself, and that's the really important thing, I think.
A big storyline last year when you were the starting kicker was you learned how to kick from YouTube videos, right? Obviously, you've been a year now in college football, so what was the next step to that development?
It's just one game, day by day. I will we focus on performance, not results. We always talk about process over results. Then if we have a good performance, that lead's gonna win. And yeah, so process over results. Being a great journey. I never played football in Japan. I started when I was 21 in Ohio, and nobody wanted me, even the junior college level, and the team wasn't good. And I was what I'm doing, and but I never losing my dream to playing college football in D1 FBS level, and also I have the dream to play at the next level. So just I never doubt myself. I believe in, even when I started kicking, I couldn't speak English. I didn't even know how to kick football, and I started when I was 21. So most of them is already senior, 21, 22 is a senior, and then I started football. Now I'm 26, but I don't know.
Okay, what I'd like to.
That's so genuinely Kansei, and that was Kansei Matsuzawa, our place kicker for the University of Hawaii football team, and the guy that scored all the points in the second half, including that walk-off a field goal with 3 seconds left to lift Hawaii 23-20 over Stanford. And yeah, that's another clip that went viral, as well as when Kansei during that post game was talking about how he's more nervous about speaking English, and of course speaking English because just a peek behind the curtain, usually Kansei is not someone that is at the post game, right? We usually always hear from Timmy Chang, and typically Micah or whoever the quarterback is, and usually someone on the defensive side. But because this was such a huge game for Kansei, naturally he's going to be the one to be in that media availability or the press conference following it. So he was genuinely more nervous, and you can kind of see or hear throughout that, and that he was, because his English, he's still getting better at it. There were some parts where I think Michael had asked a certain question and he didn't really think through it all. But shout out to Kansei Matsuzawa, because what a game for him. Obviously, like I said, some of the top plays. His performance is definitely up there. Part of the reason why he's the special teams player of the week for the Mountain West. But Michael, I know you were starting to talk about some of your top plays as we were ending hour number 1. So I just kind of want to kick it to you. And if there was, aside from special teams, if there were other moments that top plays per se that were standing out to you, maybe just one, because then we got to hit a break.
Yeah. Hello. Hey. Yes. I also, sorry, not to. But I also want to shout out Kansei's parents for being in attendance.
True, thank you.
Because, when you have Asian parents, you don't want to disappoint them. So I think as much as Kansei was nervous about speaking English in the presser, he did not want to disappoint his parents for wanting to play football. But
he made that family proud yesterday.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, the biggest plays, I think, the one big play. I mean, definitely it's not his interception that saved the day. That field goal block, because the difference was 3 points, right? And what I was trying to say about Luther McCoy was that was kind of almost a turning point where, hey, this team, we're gonna mess up, but we're gonna make up for it, and that's something that you can respect. I mean, Brandon White at the start of the game, Michael Alejado at the start of the game, that was rough. But if we can go out there and redeem ourselves, that's something that you can be happy for. And also, like, how do we out Stanford, right? You think Stanford is a smart team, but they're one of the ones making like the boneheaded mistakes. You know, the TikTok dance. Even the running back that scored after the running back scored 0 rushing touchdowns last year. He wanted to pop the Karate Kid crane pose. And that was like, moments before disaster. And
Sam Roush that came. One of his teammates came over and stopped him from doing it, because I know the exact moment you're talking with Micah Ford there, because I was watching him like a hawk. I'm like, is he really about to do the Karate Kid like kick right in front of the by all the students and what? And obviously that's not the student section, but there are a lot of students down there. I was also curious about that. It's a good call out by you.
Yeah. But yeah, that was great for Hawaii. If you want one play, I can't say one play, so we're going to go to a break.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I was like, hey, we're going to take a break because we can continue on. But when we come back, we will talk even more about some of the top plays, especially there's a bunch that I noted as well that I didn't get to mentioning, or at least we kind of mentioned it but didn't get to talk about it in detail. We'll also hear from our quarterback, our QB1, Micah Alejado, and what he had to say following that game, because according to him in the postgame, he'll be good to go 100% in that game this Saturday against Arizona. It's left to be seen this week, but there was no keeping him out of that game on Saturday after that hip drop tackle. Ugh, still can't believe that's still legal in college, but not the... Anyways, we'll hear from Micah when we come back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Escarroll here on this Aloha Monday, taking you through our thoughts and recapping that huge 23-20 win on Saturday for our UH football team over Stanford. Again, first Power Conference win under head coach Timmy Chang, and first P4 or Power Conference win since 2019. The vibes are high. Obviously, throughout the week, we will get into previewing as much as we can their upcoming road game against Arizona, but we will enjoy talking about that win and keeping the vibes high on this Aloha Monday. Before we continue on about some of our top plays and defining moments from Saturday's game, want to let you guys hear from our quarterback that, hey, like I said, you'll hear it in this post game that by all accounts, he feels like he is going to be good to play against Arizona, but we'll see what happens this week. So Micah Alihado first starts with telling us if there was even a need to talk himself back into the game following that hip drop tackle where he kind of messed up his ankle there. First, we thought it was a knee, but now it seems like it was, I'm going to use air quotes in this, only an ankle injury, and we'll see what happens going on in this week. But here is quarterback Micah Alihado.
There wasn't really a need to talk my way back in. That's just not something that's going to take me out of the game. I told the team before we came out, I'm going to die for them. And I know they would die for me, and, I truly live by that. So, there wasn't really much needing to talk myself into it because, I knew once I could walk, I was good. So I just got a little tape on it, kept it moving on the sideline, and I was good.
Yeah, to that point, what do you feel that showed the rest of your teammates in that moment, and kind of looking back, and then follow-up is just kind of how is it doing now, now that the game's over and kind of going forward?
First off, I was give all glory to God for helping me finish that game off. It definitely wasn't easy, but, I think, that's a whole team thing. We all have the same mindset, and that's been built since January. And right now, I'm good. Adrenaline is running through me still yet. Just getting an ice tub, and I'll be good for Arizona.
How do you feel about the complementary football, the special teams and the defense contributing to make it a complete team victory, and with the eyes of the nation watching on primetime too?
Yeah, defense did a great job today. We knew we were coming in against a very strong, disciplined and physical Stanford team. So, offense, we kind of gave away 10 points there. I can't take a sack in the end zone. I got to know that. And I need better ball security. So I take full accountability for that. And, the way we started off, it was, bad on my part. But, the defense kept rallying. Offense kept rallying. We hit adversity. And, we knew we were going to come and hit adversity. And as a team, we were just ready for it. We knew what we were going to do when it hit. And, all three phases were great. You have special teams, a great blocked field goal early in the game, and then Constantly hitting big, 2 clutch field goals. He's a great guy. I love him. This underdog story, and he's showing who he is today, and a great story for sure.
Coming into this game, what were your thoughts? What were your emotions? And just what made it comfortable for you to be out there?
The game plan was just come in and take what they give us. Obviously, like I said, we started off slow and, we got off to a bad start. But, all that matters is the team winning. And everyone on the offense knows that. We don't care about the individual stats. It's a team game for us this year. And, as long as we come out with the win, nobody cares about what the individual stats look like. But, it felt great. We just took what they gave us. Had a lot of guys going to make plays. Brandon White, Jackson Harris, Pofele and Nick always making plays. And, our O-line held up the whole game. We faced a lot of adversity on that side. And, the O-line held up. They are a backbone of our offense. And, they went and we followed. And, the backfield was great in rushing the ball today and, checking down. So it was just a great overall game for our offense. Not the best, but, it's just a good way to start off the season.
Early on in the game, you showed willingness to use your legs and take it yourself when I guess you saw the openings. Late in the game when it looked like you were in some pain, how did you pick your spots about when to go on keepers and were you feeling it in those situations?
It wasn't much of a difference. I tried not to run it because I definitely felt it. But, when you got to go, you got to go. I don't care how much I hurt. And, there was times in that moment in the second half that I had to go and get some yards. So, you got to take it. Pain won't last forever. It's all good. But, yeah, it was just fighting through it. It was the biggest thing for me in the second half.
Micah, congratulations on the win. Coach was talking about last year you guys were unfortunately on the wrong side of a lot of these close games, but today you find a way to pull it out. What's been the biggest difference now to get finally back on that side you guys have been wanting to get on.
Yeah, like Coach said, I think, this was a great January to August type of offseason for us. And a lot of leadership took place. We say we're a player-led team, and that's the most important thing for us. We hold each other accountable, and we get on each other. That's the biggest thing for us. And in those moments where we're down, and adversity is definitely hitting us, the guys aren't discouraging each other, yelling at each other. There's more words of encouragement, more words of positivity, and that just gets things going. That gets the energy going. And it takes one play to change the momentum for us. And I had a couple of plays in the second half that changed the momentum for us, and we just took it and ran with it.
And that was UH football quarterback Micah Alihado following that huge Hawaii over Stanford win 23-20. And he was right. And that kind of goes into talking about some of the defining moments. We mentioned this earlier, Paul, but want to bring it up again, where the fact that Hawaii went down 10-0 very, very quickly and gave up that touchdown in just a blunder of a mistake on that reception by Brandon White, and then that fumble in the end zone to give Stanford that easy 7 points. What defined Hawaii in this game is the fact that they didn't look like teams we've seen in the past. They kept fighting. They powered through. They were able to come back. They were able to take a lead into halftime and then not give that up, which, again, is something that we almost got used to seeing from this Hawaii squad the last couple of years. So I thought just that entirely was a huge defining moment, on top of the little things, on top of, obviously, we talked about Kansei and special teams, but just as a team, offensively and defensively, the fact that this looked like a new team than what we've been used to seeing, in the fact that they did not get discouraged. And Micah kind of shared some insight there where it's like they weren't yelling at each other. That may have something to do with it, but it definitely made this feel like that new team where we're not going to think, oh, we're leading going into halftime, but what's going to happen in the second half? I don't know, right? This felt really good, especially if you're watching as a fan, to know that this team is not going to let up. They're not going to give up. And again, first game, obviously anything can happen as the season goes along, but because they came out this way in the first game and did not let up, did not get discouraged when they gave up those 10 points and were able to fight their way back, take that lead into halftime, and close out the game with that win, I think in general this sets up the season. And we've been talking about that, how massive if Hawaii could win this game, how big that would be just to go into this season, starting off in week 0, but just in general, just the game, how they closed out, getting that win just was the defining moment, on top of some other things, compared to what we've seen in the past. And that felt tremendous to see from this team, that they didn't get down on themselves. They kept fighting. Of course, Micah, literally hobbling, was like, I'm not being taken out of this game. Kansei, calm, cool, and collected, hitting all his field goals and extra points, because any of those misses, or defensively, we kept bringing it up during if the field goal that Stanford had didn't get blocked, all these little things. But for the most part, the fact that Hawaii did not get down on themselves and were able to close out this game with a win was huge, and I think bigger than some people may have thought. The winning is big, but if you compare Hawaii to the last couple of years in this team, the fact that they were able to do that and close it out was just very significant in my mind.
This just isn't a game that the team wins the past 3 years. I think that's fair to say, right? During the Timmy Chang era, it's just not a game that they pull out. How many times have we seen them have an opportunity late to go on a game-winning drive and actually pull it out? Maybe once, twice, right? Last year, was it against Fresno State? Or I think it was, right, with Nick Senecal. Every once in a while, you'll get one, but it's different when it's the first game of the season, and it's a non-quantifiable stat, right? Vibes. That's what people talk about. But it's something that you can believe in, and it's something that I've talked about on this show before, where it's if you win your first game of the season, if you see yourself do it, all of a sudden that belief goes such a long way. And to me, it's more in football than almost any other sport. Because basketball, you have you have flukes and all these things all the time, it feels like. In football, it's such a team game where it takes so many different things going right for it to go through your way. And that's why it is such a good thing we're talking about it being a team victory, where it's it wasn't just Micah contributing on one foot. It was Kansei, like you mentioned before, taking a step forward in his development where they're comfortable turning to him, where it's a 20-17 game with just over 2 minutes left to play, and you only have 2 timeouts left. You're like, okay, we can kick the field goal. I feel confident, like Kansei's going to be able to make this and tie it up. And then not only are you confident in Kansei, you're confident in your defense, who you watched get dog walked all the way down the field on a 20-play drive just earlier in that quarter. You have the confidence to go back to them after coming up with a big play and an interception and saying, hey, we need one more stop. Can you get it for us? And the defense, they stepped up and they did their job. Then it was only right for the offense to do so as well. It's a whole team win that just, it doesn't really happen in previous seasons under Timmy Chang. Doesn't really happen in previous seasons with the entire offense, with the entire defense. Complementary football is, I mean, it's been such a foreign concept, it feels like, for the past few seasons. Now the question is, can you do it consistently, right? Because we've seen it in one-game doses before. But can you go week over week? Can guys continue to step up, next man up? Can you continue to pick up the other phases when they screw up early on in a game? Can you continue to work through those? Those are the questions that I'm curious to see be answered as we go through these other weeks.
And I think they can do it, right? Because in this game, they almost had to do it twice, right? Down 10-0, that filled into Stanford's game plan because they wanted to chew the clock, they wanted to muck it up, they wanted to run the ball. They held the ball for 36 minutes while Hawaii only had it for 24 minutes. And I know a lot of fans who kind of wanted to see a more high-scoring offensive output. You know, I've been on the message board, just talking to some of the fans. Like 23 points scored in under 24 minutes of possession time.
That feels pretty efficient.
That's pretty good. And then now I was like, and then you also got to think they had 5 scoring drives. And like, oh, well, when you compare that to 11 possessions, well, 1 possession shouldn't really count. Because, But and it's like, if you score 5 times out of 10 drives, that's 50%. Like, that's a phenomenal clip. This isn't video games where you're going to score on every possession. That's very rare. And if this team can score on every other possession, like they have a 50% chance of either getting a field goal or a touchdown on the board, then that's pretty great odds for this offense who, again, people look at the numbers and because it's not as high, they're like 210 passing yards for Michael Alado. What? But he completed 69% of his passes that's a very nice completion rating for a quarterback. And main thing is we don't want to throw the ball away. And he did lose in the fumble, but he didn't throw an interception in this game. While Go Branson for Stanford, he probably had 3 interceptions that we could have had.
Oh my God, dude.
One. But and here's the thing. Our defense was probably in position to get some defensive scores, but we didn't get this game. And would we have liked it? Sure. But that also means we could have that come out in future games. So I just like our team. Kuz said it, best, where, hey, previous teams doesn't do this. And, we want, he also said, Timmy Chang also said, sometimes you want it earlier, but that's not how success works, right? Success is a process, and there are building blocks to get there. I do think we got to go to break soon, so I do want to say, Michael Alhada is going to play. If the doctor says he's good to go, he's good to go. And I know I'm going to put daggers in Paul's heart. That's the same dog mentality that Tyrese Halliburton had, and just something that endears you as a fan.
No, that's just more of the what is it? What is the quote now? Let's see, from the logo. Oh yeah, I'm a wolf. I eat dogs. We're gonna say, Paul, before we go to break.
No, I just wanted to build off of Michael's point about the offense real fast, where I was very much so pleased. I thought they were very efficient. I thought they got points. One, in the first half, they did a nice job getting touchdowns. In the second half, they didn't go through scoring droughts. And I understand the desire for touchdowns. I understand the desire for big plays, big numbers, whatever it may be. But Michael made a great point. Micah did a great job taking care of the football after that opening possession. Didn't put the ball in harm's way, even when he did take his shots deep. And and once again, I understand if ifs and buts were candied nuts, every day would be Christmas, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Micah was probably a yard off on 2 or 3 plays that could have been explosives. I mean, there was one to Brandon White that was just outside his fingertips that realistically probably should have been a 60-yard touchdown. So it's like, if those start to actually click, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this offense could be very fun. You also think about it, Micah played on 1 foot, and that's his plant foot for the entire second half. It's difficult to actually get the power that you need
could tell.
behind the throw when you can't plant and fire it forward. So I just wanted to build off Michael's point on the offense. I was impressed by what they did in terms of being consistent in putting up points, and that can go a long way, especially when your defense plays its tail off like it did this past Saturday.
Yeah, you could definitely tell when Micah came back in after he went down in the beginning of that third quarter that he was a little off for sure. Probably the most inaccurate we've ever seen him before, but because, like Paul just mentioned, that's the plant foot, and that can totally change how you're passing the ball, but fortunately able to figure stuff out. Or we do need to take a break. We'll continue our conversation. Feel free to text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. We'll be back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. Let's Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brackton, Michael Escaro, recapping that massive win on Saturday for the University. We heard from head coach Timmy Chang, also Kansei Matsuzawa, the all-time scorer in that second half, putting up all the points for Hawaii, and then obviously QB1 Micah Alihado and what they had to say following that game on Saturday. So if you missed any of that, you can either watch or listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts, or right now as we are live on our YouTube channel, and of course you can watch back whenever you want. So appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, commenting. You guys can text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. And if you do, that is why you are the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. All right. We've been kind of keeping on trend with talking about the plays that kind of defined, or some of the major moments, and we've on replay via CBS yesterday, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I think just the significant moments of when some of these things happened in the game, I want to kind of emphasize. One being that aura farming penalty on Clay Patterson from Stanford. And we talked about where Hawaii, right, in the past, it doesn't seem like this is a win that they come out with. And normally,
it's because they're the ones doing those.
That's what I mean. From the past at Stanford, it didn't feel like there was any major one. Like, it's like Stanford took most of that, where last year, the last couple of years, we're like shaking our head at our guys, like, why did you do that? Like, what are you doing when it comes to putting up those penalty yardages? But no, like, it was Stanford. And by all accounts, hey, they're supposed to be the more disciplined, the quote-unquote smart guys. I'm sure
that's the Harvard of the West.
I'm sure Andrew Luck was losing his mind when Clay Patterson did that. Again, you maybe do something for like a few 12 yards in that play to turn into a gain for Hawaii because of that penalty. So that changed it around. Again, that was with in the second half, and then that led to a touchdown, extra field position because of Stanford's bonehead mistake, just to Aura Farm and do some TikTok viral dance. That definitely swung it in Hawaii's penalty, and then the other team, we extend the other team's possession, and then they score on it. So it felt really awesome to see it flipped, where it's like Stanford messed up,
Nice not to be on that
Hawaii
side.
able to take advantage too. And because we talked about this earlier, it's like, all right, the fact that things were going in Hawaii's favor sometimes, but the fact that this team was able to take advantage of when it went in our favor was very significant and very nice to see. Again, that Clay Patterson bonehead TikTok Aura Farming penalty ended up leading to that Jackson Harris touchdown, which was just like, wow, it could have gone very, very differently to end that first half. There was that. Obviously, we talked about some of the significant penalties. There was one, and I thought of you, Paul, when this was happening. It was like when this was in the fourth quarter when the tight end for Stanford, Holt, had that being able to stop the tight ends. I'm like, no. But then
that was a great call, by the way, a great offensive call, just because Hawaii sent the house.
Yeah.
And it was just a quick beater
Nice
where
play call.
Goldbranson did a great job to get the ball out. So I'll give credit where credit is due. But man,
it went to the tight end.
I let out a little cuss for that point. Anyway.
But then they were moving, right? They were going. Stanford was going, and then we had to for Hawaii, they were on the 61-yard drive before that pick. So Keely Nahe coming up huge, and it wasn't just some interception where the ball just kind of fall, or you read the route, or the ball falls in your hands. It was like one of the most athletic plays that I saw from our defense before, snatching it out of the air. That want to make sure we mention Jaheim Wilson-Jones with that huge pass breakup on the 4th and down with 1:45 left in the fourth quarter to get Hawaii the ball back and have the rest is history. So I don't think we mentioned Jaheim in this, but that was huge, right? No penalty, playing zone too, and he read it, worked his way to break that up, because had Stanford caught that, I mean, that would have been that perfectly, breaking up that pass. Hawaii gets the ball back, goes all the way down, wins the game, and so those, like, when I think back watching the game, I'm like, dang, that swung it. This, amongst other things, it was pretty awesome to see.
There were a lot of plays that were the coin flip moments, right? And you hit on a lot of them there, where it's just like little things that even in the moment you don't necessarily think are all that big. I mean, different is the game if Stanford comes out, scores a touchdown, and then the same thing happens, right? Where you have the strip sack, because Clay Patterson's the one who had the strip sack as well. He giveth and he taketh away. You know what I mean? And there were multiple Mosh who I talked to Michael a little bit about. He's a guy who I think could play in the NFL as a tight end for Stanford. He was probably their best returning offensive weapon this year, and likely a touchdown pass to him. And that, like, those are moments that get forgotten about. But in the end, when you're able to keep a team to just 3 points, it's what allows you to make that comeback in the second half, where your defense looks so worn down after one drive, and then all of a sudden they're perfectly fine.
Yeah, I want to go back to that where Clay Patterson got caught for aura farming, and I know we like to. It's easy to pile on the guy making a mistake, but again, this was in the middle of the day, 1:30 or 2:30, whatever that happened, or 3 o'clock, whatever. It was hot, and sometimes when it's hot, you get a bit tilted, making the decision to have practice during the day to start training camp at 11 a.m. That was foresight because, again, other than a couple snafus here at the start of the game, we played pretty disciplined. And I think you got to give credit to this coaching staff for making that decision, because we saw last year against Sam Houston State where it was just happened to Stanford. So shout out to the coaching staff for that. I think you guys were talking about that play to the tight end. Well, when Stanford plays 3 tight ends, 2 tight end sets, like, you're going to give up something to the tight end. But I want to highlight that they limited Sam Roush to just 3 receptions for 6 yards. This is a guy that's going to be playing in the NFL, and this team, this defense, limited a guy to just 6 yards on 3 catches. I think he had like 8 targets. Paul mentioned that Verdell Edwards play in the goal line, that on the red zone, that was on 2nd down. On 3rd down, Goldbranson was looking at Roush, but our defense, I think, between Peter Monema and Jemai Otis did a great job, holding him, bracketing him, and Goldbranson had to go to his second read where he was a little bit off. So they were really great guarding against Sam Roush, and that's something that you kind of see, right? I know in our group chat we were kind of disappointed about the the run D giving up stuff. But again, the only time that the offense scored on this defense was on a 20-play drive. And if you're on the field for 20 plays, you're going to give something up. So I like the game plan that Coach Dennis Thurman had. I don't know if we actually said his name in this broadcast, but he had a good game plan. Take away the number one guy and force others to beat you. And Hawaii down 10-0, they didn't bend. They didn't break. They bended, but they didn't break. And that's something that you see a lot of teams do. Yes, you can have an aggressive defense that is going for stuff, and we saw it kind of burn us on that little catch and run, but you don't want to give up points. You can give up yards, but you don't want to give up points. And just one offensive touchdown late in the fourth quarter, that is an A+ in my book for the defense.
Agree.
Yeah. It was phenomenal to watch. And yeah, you're right. Just to emphasize Michael's point there on Dennis Thurman coming up with the scheme. Because again, to remind everybody, like, one, this is essentially a new Stanford team. They had a bunch of transfers go out, a bunch come in, and then you have a new head coach who's still tabbed as the interim, and Frank Reich. And this is him coaching in college where he had all that NFL experience. So both sides really don't know what to plan for. On Stanford's side, they only have like that one full game with Micah Alihado, but then you bring in Jackson Harris. And so there's week 0 is tough because you're trying to come up with the game plan as much as you can without really having any discipline than what we've seen, but just being able to in case is going to go going into Arizona too, where they kind of have a few fresh new faces this Saturday on that Arizona side. So for opponent for the Rainbow Warriors and not just going 2-0, but getting a pop. We'll definitely talk more about that. We'll see if maybe where
general idea overall.
Yeah, got in.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, 2.1 FM, AM 760, and Hawaii Sports Radio Net here because there's so many people trying to tune into this show live on YouTube. So if anything, you can listen on demand wherever you get against Stanford this past Saturday. But also, we got a few more for fun to track throughout the season now. And then when I looked at the final box score, I was like, oh, we did get a sack. Oh, and it was by Peter Brake. You're like, oh no, it's because you're pretty sure it was.
With some awesome photos from Raiden Aoki and of course our allegedly copy. And the only time I remember that Timmy Chang was like, hey, he was still in the box. It's where was there ever a all right. I just wasn't sure.
On. But I mean, yeah, I don't even recall, but I must have.
Not number of players with 5 or more sacks this season, and I guess technically that is Peter's first sack and the first one for anybody.
I propose a addendum to the Paul's part equal a sack because our defensive end group between Lester Langafuaina, Tariq Jones, Kyle.
Change it, but I don't disagree with you in terms of it should be much more when it comes to production for the defensive dirty work. So I do think that's at the very least a good call out by you. But that were offensive related.
But that's why it's average.
A bit above, and that one was a little bit. And so, I don't know, 2 season average. I think 1,041 passing yards for the season. I mean, that's all just going to depend on how many games he ends up playing, it feels like. Overthrow almost 40 times and don't get picked in any of them, I guess. Pacing a little. Pafele Ashlock was the leading. He was going to be Nick Senecal, I do think, will get more use in other weeks. 4.5 yards per carry by the running backs. I actually didn't look at this one.
I failed to bring that up because I know he was the guy that did average. I saw that stat. I thought of you, Paul, because about Verdell Edward in the beginning of the season, that this is who our high expectation is.
I'm almost annoyed. It made me happy to see. He also had it at 7.5. It's a great start. It's a great start to have one. Defense did a great job in terms of the line I set for that. It seemed like an easy under for the most part anyway, but 27.5. 20 points gives you a little bit of breathing room for going forward. And then I was like, are we going to get the Kansai 50-yard field goal try?
But so this was kind of my point, and I do, I don't disagree with you guys when you say we could have like Hail Mary field goals at the end of a half, but this kind of to get that field position good enough for Kansai within 50 yards, and they kind of showed that on Vision on why I don't think there will be a field goal made by Kansai. I have confidence that they can move down the field. Now, if it does happen where it is one of those Hail Marys, obviously this is football, it'll happen. But watching that game, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I was thinking when my reasoning of that under 50-yarder is because you guys saw it. Like, they moved quickly and got into really good field position. So at least we could see what I was kind of saying.
I think so too.
Again. I was just saying, I'm not saying I'll be shocked if he does. I'm just saying my point that I made was that this offense can move quickly and move into better field goal range, and we saw that on Saturday.
Just to build my point real quick, by the way, according to the CBS broadcast, the line to get to for Hawaii in that game was the 33. If you do the math, plus 10 yards, plus 7 yards, or 8 yards for the field goal, that puts you at 50.
So we didn't say it this whole time, but I'm Ku'ule. Mahalo for listening.
Your
Bye.
brand new home for OIA Athletics. KG.